Imagine you're standing in the middle of a dense, fog-covered rainforest. The trees tower over you like ancient cathedral pillars. The air is thick and warm. Everything is still. And then, you hear it. A sound that doesn't just hit your ears, it hits your chest. A deep, thunderous drumbeat echoing through the jungle. The ground trembles slightly beneath your feet. Something massive is moving through the trees. Something that can lift 10 times what the strongest human on Earth can manage. Something that looks you directly in the eyes and knows you're afraid. You have just come face to face with one of the most misunderstood, most powerful, most emotionally complex beings on the planet. And you know absolutely nothing about it. If this channel is the kind of place where you want to discover things that will genuinely stop you in your tracks, facts that are wild, emotional, and almost impossible to believe, make sure you subscribe right now, because what we're about to explore goes far deeper than anything you've seen in a zoo, in a documentary, or in any wildlife clip online. This is the gorilla, and it is nothing like you think. Let's start with something that almost nobody knows about the moment a gorilla is born. When a baby gorilla enters the world, it comes out weighing barely 4 pounds. That's less than half the weight of an average human newborn. For an animal that will one day possess the raw strength to bend solid steel, to shatter reinforced concrete with its bare hands, it begins as something impossibly fragile. And the mother knows this. She holds that infant immediately, presses it against her chest, and for the next several years, that baby will almost never touch the ground. The mother carries it constantly, first against her chest, then on her back as it grows stronger. She will wake in the middle of the night to reposition it. She will shield it from rain. She will groom it for hours every single day. Scientists who have spent decades observing gorillas in the wild describe moments of gorilla motherhood that are genuinely difficult to watch without feeling something crack open inside you. Because it is so familiar, so deeply, uncomfortably human. And then there are the moments that aren't familiar at all. A fully grown male silverback gorilla, the dominant leader of his family group, has a bite force of approximately 1,300 pounds per square inch. To put that in perspective, a lion bites at around 650. A great white shark is roughly 625. The silverback, pound for pound, has one of the most devastating bites of any land animal alive. He could crush a coconut like it was tissue paper. He could snap a human femur the way you'd break a breadstick. But here is the thing that will genuinely disturb you when you understand it. Silverbacks almost never bite anything. The aggression you see, the chest beating, the roaring, the charging display that can send experienced wildlife researchers running in pure terror, is, in the vast majority of cases, a performance. It is a communication. It is the silverback saying, as clearly as any language ever could, "I am capable of destroying you. Please do not make me prove it." Because the last thing a silverback actually wants is a fight. A fight means injury. An injured silverback cannot protect his family. And protecting his family is the only thing that matters. Speaking of chest beating, almost everything you've been told about it is wrong. Most people assume gorillas beat their chests when they're angry. And sometimes, yes, aggression is involved. But the full truth is far stranger and more fascinating. Male gorillas begin beating their chests as infants, long before they're capable of intimidating anyone. Young males practice it like other animals play fight. They're rehearsing, building muscle memory for something they'll need as adults. And when adult silverbacks do it, they're not just making noise. They're broadcasting specific information. Researchers have found that the pitch and frequency of chest beats are directly related to body size. Larger gorillas produce lower frequency sounds. Other gorillas can identify specific individuals by their chest beat signature from up to a kilometer away through dense jungle vegetation. It's not a tantrum. It's a radio broadcast. It's a living, breathing, amplified resume. But nothing, and I want to be very deliberate here, nothing will challenge your assumptions about gorillas more than what we now understand about their emotional lives. Grief among gorillas is real, documented, heart-destroying to observe. When a member of a gorilla troop dies, especially an infant or a high-ranking female, the surviving gorillas undergo behavioral changes that are almost impossible to explain without using the word mourning. They become quieter. They lose appetite. They remain near the body, sometimes for days. Mothers have been observed carrying the bodies of their dead infants for weeks, refusing to abandon them, grooming them, cradling them in sleep. as if waiting for something that is never going to come. Researchers don't use the word grief lightly in scientific literature, but several primatologists who have witnessed this have been on record saying there is simply no other word for what they observed. One documented case in Uganda involved a mother gorilla named Tuck, who carried and tended to her deceased infant for more than 2 weeks. The research team on the ground reported that observing her behavior was one of the most emotionally difficult experiences of their professional careers. Grief, in a creature we once thought was little more than a dangerous beast. And that dangerous beast perception? We built it ourselves. And we built it out of fear and ignorance. For most of human history, the gorilla was a myth. Indigenous communities in Central Africa knew of them, of course, and their stories were treated by European explorers as folklore, tales of enormous, monstrous jungle creatures. It wasn't until 1847 that Western science formally identified the gorilla as a species. The first specimens brought to Europe caused a sensation, and not a flattering one. They were described as savage demons. The missing link, something half-man, half-monster. This is where the mythology was born, and it spread with staggering efficiency. By the time King Kong hit cinema screens in 1933, a film that literally depicted a giant gorilla as a destructive, terrifying abductor, the gorilla's public image was essentially sealed for generations. Menacing, dangerous, something to be feared. The reality is so opposite to this that it almost seems like a cruel joke. Gorillas are, by nature, profoundly peaceful. Studies of wild gorilla behavior show that aggressive interactions between groups, the kind involving real contact and real injury, are extraordinarily rare. Most conflicts are resolved through displays alone, through posturing, through the sheer force of presence. Within a family group, the social dynamics are complex, tender, and often surprisingly gentle. Silverbacks are not tyrants. They are protectors. They are the ones the young come to first when frightened. They are the ones the females press close to during thunderstorms. Young gorillas have been documented running to the silverback, not the mother, when startled by strange sounds. Because the silverback is safety. He is the mountain their world is built around. Watch footage of a silverback surrounded by juveniles who are climbing on him, pulling his fur, rolling over his legs, sitting directly on his head, and he endures all of it with a patience that would put most human parents to shame. He doesn't swat them away. He doesn't growl. He sits there, enormous and ancient and impassive, while a 7-pound baby gorilla uses his nose as a handhold. The intelligence of gorillas, though, this is where it starts getting truly unsettling. Not unsettling in a threatening way. Unsettling because of how uncomfortably close it gets to what we like to think makes us unique. Gorillas have been taught to communicate using American Sign Language, and not just isolated words. Koko, the western lowland gorilla who lived at the Gorilla Foundation in California, learned over 1,000 signs and could understand approximately 2,000 English words. She used sign language not to repeat trained responses, but to initiate conversations, express opinions, describe emotions, and make jokes. She made jokes. One of Koko's trainers would ask her what she wanted to be called, and Koko would sometimes sign, "Fine Animal Gorilla." Other times, she'd sign Queen. She had preferences. She had humor. She had opinions about things that had nothing to do with food or survival. When researchers asked Koko about death, after she had lost a kitten she had adopted and deeply bonded with, she signed words meaning bad, sad, trouble. When pressed on what death meant, she signed comfortable whole, bye. She was describing a grave, without anyone teaching her that concept, without any prompt beyond the question itself. Sit with that for a second. That kitten deserves its own moment in this story, because it is one of the most talked about episodes in modern animal behavior research, and for good reason. Koko had requested a cat for her birthday. She was given a small, tailless gray kitten she named All Ball. The relationship that developed between them was documented obsessively by researchers who, by their own admission, did not know quite what they were watching. Koko treated All Ball like an infant gorilla. She held him gently. She groomed him. She played with him with a tenderness that matched anything seen between a gorilla mother and her own young. When All Ball escaped from the facility and was struck by a car and killed, the researchers had to tell Koko. Her response was not immediate. She went quiet. Then, hours later, keepers heard sounds from her room. Low, mournful sounds that Koko made when she was sad. When they entered, she signed one thing, repeatedly: cry. But perhaps the most stunning demonstration of gorilla cognitive depth isn't in any laboratory. It's in the wild, and it is a behavior that completely upended what scientists thought they understood about tool use in primates. For decades, chimpanzees were held up as the tool users of the ape world. They use sticks to extract termites. They crack nuts with stones. This capacity was considered a major cognitive distinction between chimps and gorillas. Then, in 2005, in the Nuabandoki National Park in the Republic of Congo, a researcher watched a gorilla named Leo wade into a pool of water, pause, reach down, and pick up a stick. She then used that stick to test the depth of the water ahead of her before proceeding. She used a tool not to access food, but to gather information, to be safer, to plan ahead. Within months, additional cases emerged. A gorilla using a detached tree trunk as a bridge to cross a muddy area. Another using a large rock to stabilize herself while foraging in deep water. Tool use, problem solving, planning for future obstacles. In the wild, completely unsupervised, without a single human teaching them anything. Now let's talk about something that most wildlife documentaries never show you, because it's deeply uncomfortable, and because it forces us to confront something about our closest relatives that we'd rather not examine. Guerrilla troops sometimes go to war. Not the dramatic Hollywood version. Not lines of soldiers with spears. But territorial conflicts between competing troops, particularly between rival silverbacks, can be prolonged, strategic, and occasionally fatal. Lone males, called solitary males, who have been expelled from or who have left their birth troop, will sometimes attempt to challenge a silverback and take over his group. What follows is not a quick fight. It can involve days of escalating tension, displays, and psychological warfare before any physical contact happens. When the contact does happen, it is ferocious, biting, screaming, slamming against trees. The sound alone, according to field researchers, is terrifying in a way that goes beyond intellectual understanding. It triggers something primal in the human nervous system. And if the challenger wins, the new male will often kill the infants of the previous silverback. This is one of the darkest facts about gorilla behavior, and it's one many people don't know. It is not cruelty in the way humans understand cruelty. It is biology. Killing the infants of a rival male causes the females to come back into estrus faster, allowing the new silverback to ensure his own genetic legacy. Scientists call it infanticide. It happens in gorillas, lions, langurs, and dozens of other species. But knowing the reason doesn't make it any easier to watch. What makes it stranger still is that females have evolved a counter-strategy to this. When a new male takes over, females who are pregnant sometimes exhibit what researchers call Bruce effect behavior. Essentially, pregnancy loss triggered by the stress of the new male's presence. It is their body making a calculation. The infant won't survive anyway. Better to reset and try again. This is not a choice. It is evolution responding to evolution. But it reveals something profound about the sophistication of gorilla biology, that even their bodies are engaged in an arms race of survival strategies across millennia. Let's surface back for a moment from the darkness, because gorillas will surprise you in directions you don't expect. Gorillas sing, not in a human sense. But researchers in the wild and in captivity have documented a behavior where gorillas produce low, sustained humming sounds while they eat, particularly when they are eating something they enjoy. It is believed to be an expression of contentment. A food hum, something between a purr and a melody. Different individuals have different songs, different repertoires of sounds they make when eating preferred foods. Family members often hum together at mealtimes, creating a loose chorus of satisfaction. It is genuinely one of the most disarming things you can watch. A 400-pound silverback, hunched over a pile of fruit he clearly loves, making sounds that you can only describe as happy. And their memory. This is underreported, and it matters enormously. Gorillas remember specific individuals for years, sometimes decades, after being separated from them. There are documented cases of gorillas in captivity who were separated as juveniles and reunited as adults and showed immediate recognition, approaching each other, greeting with vocalizations, grooming, behaving with the familiarity of old friends rather than strangers. One of the most famous cases involves Quibi, a gorilla born at the Howlett's Wild Animal Park in England who was released into the wild in Gabon at age 5, through a rehabilitation program. 5 years later, the man who raised him, Damien Aspinall, traveled to Gabon and went into the forest to look for him. What the cameras captured is difficult to describe without your voice changing. Quibi, now a fully grown wild silverback, capable of killing with minimal effort, recognized his former caretaker. He approached. He embraced him. He allowed Damien to hold his face in his hands. He pressed his forehead against Damien's. For more than 20 minutes. In the middle of a jungle, a wild gorilla, remembering, the bond between gorillas and certain humans runs so deep that it has changed conservation history. And perhaps no story illustrates this more powerfully than the one involving a woman who gave everything she had, and ultimately her life, to protect them. Dian Fossey arrived in the mountains of Rwanda in the late 1960s, sent by the legendary anthropologist Louis Leakey to study mountain gorillas in the wild. At that point, the animals were so terrified of humans that getting within 100 meters of a troop was nearly impossible. Fossey spent months simply sitting near them, not approaching, not forcing contact, just existing nearby, making herself familiar, safe, and uninteresting. Slowly, they came to her. The moment that changed everything, the moment that changed conservation science forever, came when a young gorilla named Peanuts reached out and touched her hand. A wild gorilla, voluntarily, making contact. Fossey burst into tears. She spent the next 18 years in those mountains. She fought poachers. She campaigned against the Rwandan government. She made enemies at every level of the political and commercial world that profited from the illegal trade in gorillas. She was brutal, sometimes reckless, always ferociously devoted. In December 1985, she was found murdered in her cabin. The case was never officially solved. But the gorillas she protected, the mountain gorilla population that was declining toward extinction when she arrived, are, today, the only great ape subspecies whose population is actually increasing. Her research station at Karasok is still active. The graves she dug for gorillas killed by poachers are still there. And so are the gorillas. Mountain gorillas are the rarest gorilla subspecies. At their lowest point, fewer than 250 remained on Earth. Today, thanks to Fossey's work and the conservation programs built on her legacy, there are approximately 1,000 mountain gorillas alive. 1,000. For context, there are more people on Earth whose job involves studying gorillas than there are mountain gorillas in existence. Every single one of them is known, named, monitored. Each new birth is recorded. Each death is mourned by researchers who have followed individuals for decades. The mountain gorilla does not exist as a species so much as a family, a village, a community of known faces. And then there is the DNA. Gorillas share approximately 98.3% of their DNA with humans. That number tends to float past people without landing with the weight it deserves. So let me try to make it concrete. If you were to lay out the complete DNA sequence of a human and a gorilla side by side, the differences you'd find would be smaller than the differences between some geographically isolated human populations. The proteins that build our muscles, our organs, our nervous systems, they are largely the same proteins. The genes that regulate fear responses, attachment behaviors, social bonding, almost identical. We are not distantly related to gorillas. We are, by any reasonable measure of biological similarity, their close relatives. Closer than we are to any other primate except chimpanzees and bonobos. When a gorilla looks into your eyes, and if you've ever experienced this in person, you'll understand exactly what I mean. There is something looking back that is unambiguously there. A presence, a consciousness, an awareness that you are being observed as much as you are observing. It is not the experience of looking at an animal. It is the experience of looking at something that is almost you. One final story, and I want you to hold this one. In August 1996, at the Brookfield Zoo in Illinois, a 3-year-old boy climbed a railing and fell 18 feet into the gorilla enclosure. He landed hard. He was not moving. He was unconscious on the floor of the exhibit, surrounded by 7 gorillas. A female gorilla named Binti approached the boy. The crowd watching from above held their breath. Binti reached down, gently, and gathered the child into her arms. She cradled him against her chest, the same way a gorilla mother cradles her infant. She carried him carefully across the enclosure, away from the other gorillas, and placed him gently near the door where zookeepers could reach him safely. Then she stepped back and waited. The boy survived. He made a full recovery. Binti had an 8-month-old infant on her back during the entire rescue. She had never been trained for this. There was no command, no instruction, no reward. She simply saw something small and hurt and helpless, and she responded to it the way gorillas respond to the vulnerable. With protection, with gentleness, with something that every expert who has studied this incident describes with the same word, regardless of their scientific background. Compassion. We have spent centuries afraid of the gorilla. We have built cages for them. We have hunted them. We have turned them into movie monsters and theme park exhibits and symbols of danger. We have taken their forests. We have looked at their faces and seen something threatening, something lesser, something other. And all this time, they have been sitting in the midst of their mountain forests, raising their children with fierce and tender love, singing softly over food they enjoy, remembering the faces of friends they haven't seen in years, making tools to navigate a world that keeps shrinking around them. We called them beasts. They were busy being better than us. If this video changed the way you see gorillas, if there was one moment that stopped you, that made you feel something, that made you think, drop it in the comments right now. Tell me, which fact hit you the hardest? Was it Binti cradling that child? Was it Koko signing cry? Was it Quibi and his long memory, reaching for the man who raised him in a forest that should have erased everything? Tell me, I want to know what it was. Because this is the conversation worth having. These animals are still here. Barely. And whether they stay here is something we, you and I, still have the power to decide.